Poppi.
Hi, so nice to be here.
Thank you for allowing me to talk to you.
Of course.
A disclaimer, I did not copy your podcasting idea. Not even subconsciously, I don't think.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Yeah. No grudges.
What?
I said no grudges.
Okay. When we started this episode, Poppi was wearing a very different ensemble.
I was wearing like a ratty band t-shirt because I was like, it's casual. And then she shows up.
It is casual, but then I showed up looking like a goddess, so.
Yeah, definitely.
I feel like anyone who knows me would know that I'm kidding when I say that.
Yeah.
But this is a bathrobe. It is. It's a light kimono style robe wraparound thing, and I wear it in the mornings.
Well, I'm wearing pajamas under this, so.
I just threw this on because I need to feel good about myself in times like these. So
definitely.
Well, I'll just introduce you as this is my lovely sister, and I'm so happy to be having this special episode and special talk. And do you want to introduce yourself and say a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, sure. Hi, everyone. My name is Poppi, and I'm based in Toronto. I'm primarily a filmmaker. I'm studying at Sheridan College right now for film, but I'm also a writer. I do film reviews and features for a magazine called Cineflix Daily, and most recently, I'm also a podcaster. So my podcast is called Queerator, and really what I want to do with that show is just spread awareness about queer issues, because it's something I'm very passionate about. So I just talk to queer artists. We talk about their art and we talk about their lives and coming out and what that was like for them. And I am also a musician. So I work a lot with my twin sister, Lucia. And during quarantine, we started a musical duo called Kings in the Back Row. And we're currently self-producing an EP, which we want to release in the summer.
Yay! Thank you for your intro. I'm sorry Oscar was whining during that.
Okay.
Let's see if he wants to come up. Do you want to come up? No? Well then, okay. Okay. So tell me more about this podcast. Why this project? Why this project above all other projects?
Right. So I've always been really interested in radio. If anyone listening has seen Pitch Perfect, that was the start of it all. And I've always been interested in podcasts and just interviewing and stuff like that. So I knew I wanted to join the Sheridan Radio when I got into Sheridan College. And one of the things you can do while you're part of the radio is start a podcast. So I thought I could interview queer artists because I'm bisexual, and I really love connecting with queer people. I find that, there's such a kinship there, and I'm very passionate about queer issues. I love educating about it. I love talking about it. And I think there's so much that people don't really realize are issues. And
how do you find your guests and who have you interviewed?
So usually I find them, I know a lot of them personally. I went to Rosedale Heights, which is a place that's just like full of queer artists. It's an art school. So, and I think about 90% of the population is somewhere on the rainbow. So, I go to people that I know from there, or people who are friends of friends. I don't know how, but most of my friends are queer anyway, and most of them are artists because that's what I'm interested in. So usually I just go through connections that way. And I try to find people from different places on the rainbow just so we can get some different perspectives. And usually I just connect through Instagram. I'm finding that's a really great tool for podcasters because it's kind of informal, it's casual, but they can check out your page if they want to. If I don't know the person, I find that's really helpful.
I've been finding that too.
Yeah, definitely. And people reach out to you as well if they find your page. So that's been really nice. So far, I've interviewed Francis Jarvis. He's a musician. Moscow Apartment, who's one of my favorite indie bands right now. They're great. And Leith Ross, who's also amazing. And then I've done a round table as well, just about intolerant family during the holidays.
Do you want to tell a bit about your coming out story or your journey? You don't have to. But.
Yeah. I guess I mean, I originally thought I was a lesbian because there's this belief that bisexuals don't exist. Or that it's kind of like you're covering up the fact that you're gay or you're straight and looking for attention. I think especially with women for some reason. So originally I was like, okay, I admire girls, so obviously I'm a lesbian, and this is my favorite story because my twin sister and I were very, very close, right? And I kind of assumed that I was the only one who was going through this, and I was like, oh God, like I'm gonna have to tell her, and it's gonna be really weird. And then I thought that I told her one night when we were just like sitting up and talking. And then that next day, I was like, hey, we should talk about this because in this memory that I had, she also said that she was a lesbian. And then when we talked about it the next day, she was like, that never happened. That was a dream. What are you talking about? So I came out to her in my dream and I thought it was real. But then as we were walking to school the next day and I explained that to her, she was like, I mean, I am. I don't know how you know that, but that never happened.
No, I've never heard that story. That's crazy.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So you came out to each other in your dreams.
Mm-hmm.
In your dream. But that never happened, but then it happened for real the next day.
And I think it kind of helped because I wasn't really nervous the next day because I was like, oh, hey.
It was like a practice run.
Exactly, right? Yeah, but my mind just thought it was real and it's very, very creepy.
Whoa. Yeah, dreams can be so real. What was her reaction?
In the dream, she was like really chill, just kind of like, yeah, me too. Isn't that kind of everybody? That kind of energy?
That's like what Lucia would say.
Yeah. So in my head, I was like, oh, so it's fine. And then as we were walking to school, it was like this big secret. So for a while, it was like this big thing that no one else in the world experiences. Because I didn't really like hear about people, especially women, being gay. I think I kind of briefly heard people talk about like gay men, but for some reason lesbians just like never really entered my subconscious. So in my mind it was like 1 in a million type thing.
And this is someone you went to, like, as you said, an extremely gay open art school in downtown Toronto, and you still didn't have that exposure.
Well, I think by the time I got to high school, I was pretty comfortable and I'd managed to find a group of friends that slowly, for some reason, we all just turned out to be on the rainbow, which was very, very lucky.
You came out at age 14, right?
Yes. Yeah, it was the summer before grade 9.
Summer before grade 9. Would you say that's quite young?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, it depends where you are in the world, and especially where you come from. Toronto's very progressive, and I knew that my parents were very progressive as well. Our parents were very progressive. You know, I knew that they wouldn't have an issue with it at all. And actually, when I came out to them, they were just kind of like, well, I didn't think of you as anything. So you're a thing now. Okay.
You're like, is that a compliment?
Right. So yeah, in terms of family, it was very easygoing, and of course, you were very accepting. This one is also my favorite story. I don't know if you remember this, but over the phone, I think our mother told you that we were pansexual, and
No. what happened in my memory, at least, was that first
Mhm.
you had told Mama in like a mall that you were pansexual, and she was like, "What's that?" or something. She said something
Yeah.
like, and then you and Lucia came to visit me in Ottawa, just the two of you, and that was really special because you were there for quite a while, right? It was like a week or
Yeah. Yeah. Mhm.
and you stayed with me on Nelson Street, and that was really fun because you were taking your first trip alone. Basically, you guys were still very young, 14.
Mhm.
Well, I guess that's a teenager, but young teenager. And we were walking down, for anyone that knows Ottawa, we were walking down Laurier Street. We were at Laurier and Elgin on the corner. And I don't know how this came up, but you guys, I feel like you guys said something like, well, we need to tell you something or something when we get back to the house or something like that.
Okay, we remember this differently because I remember that
or something like you, and then I was like, what? No, tell me now. And then it was like on the street, and then Lucia was like, no, you were like, I'm bi, and Lucia was like, and I'm gay, and I just started crying, and I was like, oh my God. And then we just like crossed the street, and I was like, oh my God. And then,
yeah, that was the best reaction. You were just like, oh, my babies, just like. And then the best part was that when we got back to your apartment, your boyfriend at the time walked in like 10 minutes after, and I guess he saw that you'd been crying or something, so he kind of looked confused, and you turned to us, you're like, can I tell him?
in front of her.
And then you just go, Dan, they're gay.
Was that an appropriate thing to do?
I didn't mind it. I thought it was hilarious. I still think it's hilarious. But his face was like, okay, cool.
He was like, wow. Oh, wow.
Yeah, that was really funny.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. So how do you remember it?
I remember we were like walking down the street, and then just out of the blue, you were like, so Mama tells me that you're pansexuals.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I think, I mean, I don't know if I remembered this right, but...
Okay, maybe you're right. Maybe I'm remembering it wrong. I don't know. It was one of the two. Okay, so I said that, and then?
And then we were just kind of like caught off guard. We were like, yeah.
I think you're right.
Just hands.
I feel like you probably remember this more accurately because it was such a pivotal moment for you. But yeah, no, I think you're right, actually. Okay. Because I do remember you guys telling me that you told Mama, but that might have been afterwards too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you thought that everyone knew and it was like totally fine. So you're just kind of like bringing it up casually.
Oh yeah, I was like, oh yeah, no, you're right. Okay, yeah. So I was like, now I remember this. Okay, yeah, I was like, so Mama tells me you're pansexual, and you were like, oh, that's not exactly. And then I was like, what? Like,
yeah.
That was funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't think it was a big deal at all. I don't know. Maybe I'm weird, but I just don't think about. I feel like pansexual is like the natural state of being almost for most people. So I'm like, I don't think about that as being, I thought I was just like starting a conversation topic, but then I realized it was about to be a bigger moment on the street.
Yeah. I mean, like now I'm kind of the same way. I've just started, maybe it's an issue, I don't know. I've just started assuming everyone is into everything gender-wise. But obviously that's not the case. There's people who are 100% either way. But yeah, just because my community and the people around me, my friends, and my chosen family they're all queer. So it's just kind of like a natural state of being. I've almost gotten to the point where I meet someone and they're like, I'm straight. And I'm like, wow, really? I found one.
Yeah, I remember Lucia was so weird on that trip. She was like, it's my dream to just get completely soaked by a car.
Oh my God, yeah, definitely.
You're weird. Like, you're weird.
Yeah, she's a total weirdo, and I love her to bits.
It was the summertime, so at least it wasn't winter, but it was like pouring one day, like pouring rain. And she was like, she literally stood on the street corner waiting for it.
Yeah, that was the best.
She did get soaked.
She did. Yeah, she achieved her goals. I was proud of her. Reach for the stars, kids. Yeah. Anything is possible if you believe.
Wow, your goals are very achievable. Like, it's let's go.
Don't need an Oscar. Don't need to make a movie. Just need to get soaked by a car. Yeah.
That was such a fun trip.
It was, yeah.
And then you told Mama and Papa at that like farmhouse.
Yeah, in the middle of nowhere where they couldn't escape. No, they were very cool about it.
I was like on pins and needles when you went on that trip. I was like,
oh, really?
Yeah. Text me immediately.
Yeah. No, they were super cool about it. We're very lucky. I mean, they're both such open-minded people, just like loving and supportive. So it wasn't that big of a deal. Mm-hmm. But I do feel like we've gone, like they were never intolerant at all. I don't want to imply that, but I feel like they weren't very involved in the queer community at all. And I think since then they've become way more involved just intellectually. They know so much more now. You know, I mean, I talk about it all the time because I have the podcast and it's something I'm very interested in, queer issues. But now I think they're so much more knowledgeable about all that stuff. So it's kind of nice to see that transformation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember you telling Papa what non-binary was and explaining that to him. And yeah, sending him videos and stuff. Mm-hmm. Really cool. That's important too, because I mean, people of that generation, I didn't really grow up with all of that lingo being, all of those issues being in the forefront and talked about in a very open way. Like when I was going through school, when I was your age, I mean, maybe some people can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I would have known because I was at Rosedale, which is again a very, very progressive school, and even there, it wasn't as spoken about as it is now.
Definitely. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. What would you say, because you are of a different generation than me, what would you say are the biggest issues that you see, at least in your circle, facing the queer community? You can't represent every single community, right? You're just speaking from your own, but amongst your friends, let's say, have you seen, or the people that you've spoken with?
Well, again, I think it depends where you're from. I think overall, if we're looking at the whole queer community, the biggest issue is division within it. You know, we're all part of the same rainbow, so we should have each other's backs, but we don't. There's so much racism in the queer community. There's erasure of our history as well. Like, transgender women of color have led the movement for as long as anyone can remember, but some people in the queer community don't like that. And I mean, I've never quite understood why there's so much division, but there's some people, some gay people who don't really care about transgender issues or don't respect transgender people or non-binary people. There's racism, of course. There's ableism. There are like there's sexism. I mean, there's sexism everywhere, but yeah, just that division between the different groups, I think, is the biggest overall issue. People need to realize that if we want to be respected and if we want to make change, that we have to stick together and we have to have each other's backs and we have to learn about each other. You know, if you're, I'm bisexual, but I try and learn about non-binary people. I try and learn about trans people. I try and learn about gay history, you know, and, you know, you have to be an ally to each other. And I think that's really important. And that might be the biggest issue within the community. In terms of like what I've experienced.
And it's also okay if you don't have a good answer for it. And it's a complicated question. Like,
yeah, totally. I think, yeah, I guess just education, people not knowing about other people, or not being respectful, or not understanding, or not trying to understand, I should say. I think it's okay if you don't know things, but being really open to learning things is very important. And that's a skill that a lot of people haven't quite learned yet. Yeah.
I think a lot of people are like, for example, the whole they, them pronouns. Like I remember a lot of people saying things like, well, it's not used for singular usage, or, this is, some of these pronouns are like made up words. And then it's like, well, all words are made up, right? Like that's the words change and evolve with time. That's the whole meaning of language.
Definitely. Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
Well, I think it's, when with beliefs and with information that your brain processes, the longer you hold a belief, the more credible it seems. And I think the problem with so many people is that they learn that you can't use they as a singular, for example, and then they hold that belief for so long that it seems absolutely ridiculous by the time they do learn that it's a possibility, that people are using that now, and that non-binary is a thing that's very much real. So, I mean, I guess that would be more about the generation thing.
Although I'm sure I know that there are swaths of, millennials and Gen Zers who probably hold more, I don't want to say conservative views, because I don't know what their political leanings might be, but they would hold less progressive views on the subject as well, right?
Yeah, totally. I've heard the most ignorant things being said by gay people about trans people in particular. Again, I'm not sure why that is, because they are in our community. They're very much in our community. They led our movement, and you should learn about them, but some people don't.
You mean like younger gay people?
Sorry, I meant they, as in transgender people, have led our movement and been so involved in our community, and they're definitely part of our community, but a lot of even younger gay people aren't really aware of that, or they're a bit resistant to transgender people.
But do you see that kind of, is the progression slowly kind of getting better over time, you think? Or will it?
Definitely. Yeah. I mean, especially with racism and ableism and sexism within the community and outside of the community, everyone's becoming more aware of each other. I've been hearing more and more people announcing their pronouns, for example, when they introduce themselves. I think that's a really good thing to do in a school setting, for example. Like in my college, some of the teachers have their pronouns in their little Zoom tag at the bottom. And some of the students as well put their pronouns there. And that's very encouraging, because that would never happen even 5 years ago, I think.
Why would you recommend people do that?
So for trans and non-binary people, it can be very uncomfortable to correct people about your pronouns. And it can be even more uncomfortable if no one else seems to need to introduce their pronouns. So if you're a trans woman, for example, and you're in a Zoom class and you have a very masculine sounding voice, people might immediately use he, him pronouns. And I mean, I don't know if the people listening know a lot about dysphoria, but it's this disconnect that causes a lot of anxiety, sometimes depression. And it's a disconnect between how your body is built and the gender that you know you are. So misgendering in general, which is when someone calls you by the incorrect pronouns, or misgenders you, that can cause anxiety or depression. So I think it's just an effort to be more inclusive, as well as show your support for those people.
Yeah, makes sense. And well, I wanted to talk a little bit about your twinhood.
Sure, yeah.
With Lucia, because it's very special. You guys are identical twins. You both just had your 19th birthday.
Mm-hmm.
Belated birthday.
Oh, thank you.
And you're both, you both identify as queer. You're both aspiring filmmakers. What's it like having a twin sister?
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, a lot of people, I can't speak for all twins because I think there's a lot of twins who don't get along. But me and Lucia are extremely similar, and we have such a strong bond that I'm very grateful for her. I mean, we've been together since literally the womb. So,
Conception.
yeah, exactly. So we have a very strong bond. And it's just nice to have someone who's got your back all the time. And most of the time, she knows what I'm thinking. Not literally, we're not telepathic. That's a myth, people. But if I make a joke, or I can just, if someone says something and we're in a group of people and I look over at her, she knows exactly why I find it funny or what I'm thinking, which is just kind of nice. It's probably the same as having a best friend, I'd imagine. But yeah, I feel very lucky to have her.
Yeah, I remember when you were younger, you would often respond in tandem. Like you would respond
Still do.
at the same time saying the same thing. Just slightly, there was a slight lag or delay, but it would be like, da, 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 da. And you'd respond saying the exact same thing.
Yeah, my favorite twin moment like that is we were arguing with our father one time, and he said something and we both responded like a full 2 sentences exactly the same, and then he just started laughing. Like the fight was over after that. But yeah.
Oh, that's so funny. And you guys used to do like switch day and stuff like that for
Oh
school.
yeah. We used to be such like little shits when it came to that. We'd because we for the longest time we had the same hair, and I think our faces look pretty similar. I don't personally think we look very similar, but obviously we do because people can never tell us apart. But we used to like dress in each other's clothes because she has a way darker style than I do. I usually wear brighter colors and she always wears black. So we'd dress in each other's clothes and then go to school and just pretend to be the other person for no reason, unprovoked, just because we wanted to have fun.
And would anyone tell you apart?
Probably my best friend Diana, definitely. But I think other people were very confused. So that was just kind of fun.
Yeah.
We used to also convince people that we were telepathic sometimes.
Hey, you should have done like a Halloween costume, the twins from The Shining. You never did that.
Oh, definitely. Yeah, I didn't see The Shining actually until last year, but that would be a good...
Bad film major, bad.
I know, horrible.
Well, that could be in your future. That
definitely. Next Halloween when COVID's over. Oh, actually, knock on wood.
Exactly.
3 Halloweens from now when COVID's over. Yeah.
How would you describe your personality differences with Lucia?
Well, I think I'm a lot louder than she is. We used to be both extremely introverted and very quiet, but I took drama in grade 11, and I think that really brought out a side of me that I didn't really know was there, a more outgoing, more energetic side. And she's way more like the moody writer type. And
a tortured artist type.
Yeah, definitely. Kind of quiet. I think she has brilliant ideas when she's just like thinking and writing stuff down. But I'm definitely more vocal out of the two of us. And I say this with love, she's way weirder than I am.
And I mean, things with I say this with love.
Yeah, no, I totally admire it. It's not a bad thing, but I totally admire that she's 100% weirder than I am. You should see her room. It's like she cuts out books and magazines, and she's basically collaged her whole wall with like isolated body parts. And
do I have to be concerned?
No, not at all. It's very cool art.
Okay.
Yeah.
Huh. And so how, because I know like a lot of like you are very different, but you are very similar. Like I think you're more similar than a lot of twins. Like you've always had the same friends, as I understand it, pretty much,
Mm-hmm.
same group of friends to similar levels of closeness with each one.
Mm-hmm.
You, as I said, are both queer. You both chose to go to the same school in the same discipline. You've always had parallel interests that kind of, you were both taking music lessons. You're both, now into film and all of this stuff. You both like similar music and movies.
Mm-hmm.
How do you explain that? Why do you think that is?
I guess the easy answer is genetics, but we're so influenced by each other and we're so inspired by each other that when one person tries something, the other person tries it as well. Right now, we're actually in a period of different interests. Like, I'm not a visual artist at all. I can't draw. I don't do collage. I don't do painting. I rarely do photography or cinematography. I'm more of a writer and a director when it comes to film. But Lucia is very interested in that, and she's very good with aesthetics. So she's been doing more collage and more drawing. And she has an art account as well that has just like the most interesting photography. It's very weird. It's very atmospheric. Um, so I mean, I think it's just yeah, we're so influenced by each other that and we get along so well too. So when one of us does something, we often do it together. Like we collaborate heavily on most things. Even if I'm doing a solo project, when I'm finished writing, I show it to her and she tells me what's wrong with it, which is nice because she's just like very, very honest about everything. And
Very deadpan too. She'll just tell it
yeah,
like it is, no frills, just
exactly. Yeah. So that's amazing because I know if I give her something that sucks, she's going to tell me that it sucks. And I don't have to feel self conscious about it. But if I give her something and she says, wow, that's amazing, then I know it's actually worth making.
yeah,
So,
that's why it's great when people are truly honest and consistently honest, because you can just rely on what they say, even if sometimes what they say is not what you want to hear or stings a little bit.
mhm,
The reward, the payoff is that when they do give you praise or they do um, uh, support something strongly, that that's for real, and you can rely on that feedback, right?
definitely. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So tell me more about this musical project then you have going with her.
Yeah. So, during quarantine, I think like most people, I was just feeling very pointless.
Mhm.
Um, we'd stopped school for an extended March break. And before that happened, school was really ramping up. I was preparing for tech in the musical. I was doing a whole bunch of things. So it's like I was moving a million miles an hour and then everything just stopped. Um, so that was a very strange feeling for me because usually I am doing a million things at once, as you can tell from my bio. Um, so I'd picked up the guitar like a few years ago, and I'd started like I could play Yellow Submarine in grade 7,
Yay!
and yeah, I know C, G, and D. Oh yeah, advanced guitar playing, and I mean I've always loved music. Our whole family really loves music, so I started playing the guitar more and more, and so Lucia's a little bit of an insomniac, and when she can't sleep, she writes in this notebook by her bed. She just writes like little poems, little excerpts, little prose of what she's feeling. So she wrote this one poem that she found later and gave it to me, and it really affected me. I thought it was really good, so I started putting it to music just for fun. And yeah, it kind of snowballed from there. We discovered that this was something that we really loved doing, especially together. We loved workshopping it together. I got way better at guitar. I moved past C, G, and D. And my background's in harp too, so I started exploring picking on the guitar and I guess more classical way of playing. Um, And as well, my good friend Kyle Nearing, he started writing song lyrics for us, and we would put them to music and send them back to him, and then he would send some revisions, and then we would just kind of workshop virtually, which was really amazing. And then we'd meet in his backyard and like run through the songs. So basically, over quarantine, we made, I think, 24 songs.
Oh, wow.
Some of them are good, some of them are crap, but they're still there and we're still workshopping them. So we're self-producing right now, just on Audition, Adobe Audition, and with this microphone. Mm-hmm. And we're hoping to release in the summer.
Oh, okay. What are you releasing in the summer?
So we're going to release our debut album. We're still deciding on the title. We're thinking of calling it Sticky Kid. Do you know Caleb Landry Jones?
No, who's that?
He's this guy. He was in Get Out. He was the brother, if you saw that movie.
I love that movie. The brother of
the White Family.
Oh, yeah, yeah. Oh, he was creepy.
Yeah. He's amazing as an actor. Me and Lucia both adore him. And he's also in this film by Brandon Cronenberg, who's David Cronenberg's son. The film's called Antiviral. And we saw that film. And for some reason, our friend Kyle Nearing saw that movie as well and was like, Caleb Landry Jones is that sticky kid in class, like in kindergarten. For some reason, that description really worked for me. I don't know if you see that, but we wrote a whole song about it, and we're thinking of calling the EP that.
Sticky Kid.
Mm-hmm.
I like it. It's like kind of gross, but playful and innocent at the same time.
Which is our band, so.
Okay. And it's called Things in the Back Row.
Mm-hmm.
What inspired that title? How did you come up? I'm really interested in how people name their bands and their songs. So.
Yeah. Did you read Catcher in the Rye?
I did.
Yeah. So me and Lucia both love that book a lot. I know half the people listening hate it and half of them love it, but we're in the half that really, really loves it. We really connected to that book. And in the book, the main character, Holden, he's in love with this girl, Jane, and he keeps reminiscing about her, and he often asks people if she still keeps all her kings in the back row when she plays checkers. Mm. And you're not supposed to do that when you play checkers. It's not productive to winning at all, but it kind of just shows her childlike wonder where she just thinks they look pretty there. So that's how she plays checkers, and she always loses as a result. So we just kind of liked that metaphor, and we love the book. So we decided to name our production company as well as our band after that.
So what is the goal around this production company?
Well, I'm very interested in producing. I think a lot of me and Lucia really want to write and direct films together, and I think a lot of those she'll probably direct and I'll produce. Mm-hmm. So I guess it was just a way to unify all of our work, was to create this general logo. Our friend Nick did the logo. It's on our Instagram if anyone wants to check it out. He did a really good job of animating it from a sketch we gave him.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
Cool. Well, I love that you have a production company together. That's great. So do you find that your film visions are similar?
Yeah, I mean, Lucia's a lot weirder than I am. And I think that's why it works, is because she has all of these ideas that are surreal, and they're often with like really Lynchian characters.
As in David Lynch.
Yeah, as in David Lynch. That's she loves David Lynch as well. So it's these very weird characters and really weird situation, often very gross as well. Like she loves Brandon Cronenberg. And my visions are usually very realistic, very gritty and grounded in something that I've gone through or someone I know has gone through.
You're more like human and she's more surreal? Is that accurate? Okay.
Definitely. So when we come together, I keep us really, really grounded, but she adds experimental elements to the film. And sometimes that changes. Sometimes we kind of switch, whereas she'll find the more human aspects. But I think we both prefer surrealism when it's grounded in something that's real and grounded in real emotion and a real story. So it's kind of the perfect balance for us.
Mm-hmm. Oh, you're very well spoken on all of this.
Oh, thank you.
Yes, I appreciate it. Very good.
Oh, I hope so.
I bet you guys watched a lot of movies during quarantine.
Oh, so many. Yeah.
Was it almost every day?
Yeah. We usually watch a movie together after dinner. Lucia hears about just like, I don't know where she hears about these movies, but again, they're very weird movies. That's the theme of the episode. She hears about these like really wacko out there movies, and we usually watch them after dinner. I mean, I think learning film history is important, but what's more interesting to me is what's happening now that's not normal. And from that, I feel like I'm learning so much more just about things that can be done now rather than the past, even though I admire the past as well, not to disregard all of the great movies that were made before now. But, you know, like the horror genre as well is becoming more sophisticated.
Horror genre. So I bet Papa does not watch those with you.
Oh, no, definitely not. No. Our dad is very traditional when it comes to that. He doesn't enjoy horror movies at all.
Mm-hmm. Well, that's not really traditional. There's lots of people who are not traditional who don't like horror genre. I think he doesn't like to be scared, which
that's fair.
Well, it makes sense. That's pretty normal. I feel like, but it's also kind of seems to be normal human nature to like the thrill of being scared. It's one of those weird things.
Definitely sounds like the normal thing is to not like being scared. But here we are.
Here we are. Yeah. I heard this study was done where people who went through haunted houses together, at the end, they were closer. Like, I don't know how,
really?
But I guess that by asking them, they felt closer to the people that they had just gone through the haunted house with, which makes sense because you're experiencing this. It's sort of like this simulated environment where you're experiencing kind of a primal feeling that you wouldn't normally feel. And how privileged are we that we need to like simulate
fear? Yeah.
Because we have so much comfort in our lives.
It's very dark. Someone should make a horror film about that. I think it would be good.
What?
Just about that concept that we have to simulate fear because we don't have fear in our own lives. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that before. That's very interesting.
I know. Well, the thing is, we do have fear. That's the thing. We have a lot of anxiety. And that's different. We have a lot of worry and stress and anxiety, but we don't have necessarily that kind of heart-pumping fear, like running away from the bear primal feeling.
Maybe that's also part of it too, is the attraction of horror movies, is that it's a controlled environment where you are feeling some things that you feel in regular life, like anxiety and worry, but you know that you aren't going to be hurt and you know you can control it. You can just turn it off whenever.
Yeah, and
so that's part of it.
It's more fun to be anxious about like a murderer than it is about your taxes.
Yeah. That's another horror movie. It's called The Tax Man, and it's just about doing your taxes.
It's just about the CRA or the IRS, just like.
Oh yeah, definitely.
With your, yeah, that's my.
That's your horror movie. Yeah. Written and directed from personal experience.
Yeah, there's a disclaimer. This has been events from this film have been taken from real life.
Yeah, based on a true story.
Based on a true story.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. So what are some of your favorite movies that came out of quarantine?
There was this Quebecois film. It's called Crazy. I would say it's just called Crazy, but there's dots in between all those letters.
That is so hipster.
Yes. It does have a meaning. So it's not just to be pretentious, but that movie really stuck out to me. It's unfortunately very hard to find. But it's part of this queer new wave that happened in the 90s, which is also something that me and Lucia have been exploring recently. It's these filmmakers, I think mainly gay men. I haven't found any lesbians yet, hopefully soon. But it's these gay men who were just so angry and frustrated with the way they were being treated that they turned to filmmaking and created these stories that were really abrasive and very I mean, you could feel their frustration, you could feel their anger, but it was all these queer stories that just treated it like it was completely normal. And obviously, like domestic violence and AIDS are big, rape as well, are big themes in these movies, but they're very kitsch at the same time. Um, so those films are very, very interesting. And this film, Crazy, is a bit more grounded. It's a Quebecois film. It's a well-known director, but I can't remember it right now. People listening can look it up.
Bad film major, bad.
I know. But it just follows this gay man from when he was a little boy to I think like 25 or something, and just his relationship with his father and his family and coming out. And it was just very well done. That was a highlight for sure. And there was one I saw recently that I loved. Oh, I saw Do the Right Thing, Spike Lee.
Who?
Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was definitely a highlight. It's a really great movie. If anyone hasn't seen it, go watch it. It's phenomenal. Yeah.
Great. So where is this going with the podcast? Do you have an idea of, how many seasons, or if there will be multiple seasons, or sponsorships or anything like that?
Well, it's I'm creating it with Sheridan College's radio station. So the station itself is not for profit, so I don't think I'm going to do sponsors or anything like that. Yeah, I hope to have multiple seasons. As long as I'm at Sheridan, I think I'll keep making them because I found it really educational for me, and I love doing it. I love talking to people, and especially during quarantine, it's added really nice structure, but as well just like interaction with new people, which is really nice. So yeah, I'm gonna keep going while I'm at Sheridan, and maybe afterwards too. I'm not sure.
So you started it during quarantine?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
How was it? That's awesome that you started. You were channeling your creative energy positively during that time. I don't think that's the same for everybody.
Yeah, I know. I think it really hit people different ways. I'm also very lucky because in terms of mental health, I don't have anxiety, I don't have depression, so I don't have those things to deal with. I think a lot of people, the struggle with quarantine is just dealing with their mental health. And you know what? If you've just done that during quarantine, good job. Like snaps. That's amazing. You should be proud of yourself. But for me, I guess it was just I needed to be doing something, or else I would just feel really hopeless right now. So I'm very lonely and just disconnected. So that's why I turned to art, especially collaborative art like the podcast, where I could talk to people and hear about their experiences.
So did you find it, once you started that project, you found it easier to find motivation during that time?
Definitely, yeah. I mean, just people give me energy as well. I'm starting school, and we have a group chat for everyone in the program on Discord. So just like connecting with other people who are filmmakers and talking about things on the Discord has really helped. So if anyone's struggling right now and isn't reaching out to people, I would definitely suggest that. It makes a big difference.
Yeah, the first quarantine was very just not productive at all, I would say. I mean, it depends how you define productivity, I suppose. I definitely wasn't practicing very much. I wasn't creating very much, and the energy just wasn't there at all, which was partially, I think now we're more used to the idea of COVID. We're more used to coping with it. We're used to this new normal, so to speak. At first, I was watching news coverage every day thinking like, oh, this might happen for, maybe another month, right? Like I had no concept that this would be our year and more. So there was this feeling of being paused and at the same time kind of waiting to start back up and having those wheels just stop turning. It was the same thing. I was not expecting to have our season suddenly canceled. And then when that happened, was kind of left in the lurch. But, yeah, I just tried to do one or two things every day that were, I guess, hands-on. I did a lot of cooking. I did a little bit of gardening. I eventually got my puppy. One thing I did do that kept me going was I did build my website, which was a fun project because I was doing it all myself and doing all that research on my own. I'm not naturally extremely techie, but I do kind of enjoy it and take to it once I make up my mind that I'm going to do something. Like when I started this podcast and when I built my website, and I do kind of like throwing myself into a tech project like that.
Yeah, I think you're kind of like that with everything, where it's like once you decide to commit to it, you really commit to it with everything. Yeah.
I'm glad I come
Yeah,
across.
I admire that.
Yeah. Well, I've always admired how mentally strong you are and balanced. You've always been very, very balanced.
Yeah. Well, I guess I'm just kind of got lucky,
Yeah. Yeah, luck is definitely a part of it, but you have a very personality too is very, I think, makes a difference somehow. I don't know, is Lucia the same way? You
I
would
think
say?
so. Yeah. I mean, she's less peppy about it, but she's definitely more broody. Like if she doesn't, she'll have days where she just doesn't want to talk to people. And I mean, she'll talk to her family. She's not antisocial, but she'll just kind of like not really want interaction that much. And I mean, I get like that too, but
Does that include you too, or are you always in the circle?
I'm pretty much always in the circle.
You're in the circle of trust.
Yeah, I don't know if this will sound weird to people listening who don't have a twin, but I don't know, to us it's not like we're separate people. We know we're separate people, but we're not really sisters. We're more like I think of her more as my arm, and I'm kind of like her arm, if that makes any sense. Which is kind of like
you make a whole person. No, I'm just
we are half people. No, I mean we're very separate people, and we can lead very separate lives, but we're very necessary to each other. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but
it also must be kind of annoying though when people group you together too much.
yes, that is annoying, and especially when because like I said, we do work together a lot, so we lump each other anyway together. So yeah, it's most people like some of our friends' parents are like, "Oh, the twins are coming over," and that irritates me. I don't like that at all.
Well, I was gonna say one of the worst things that I think our parents / us did, like me and Agostina, where we got into the habit of literally calling you guys twins. It was like, I'm pretty sure in every parenting book that was a huge no-no, but it's like, I don't know how that started, but I just remember twins, or where are the twins? Are the twins coming? Like all the time.
Yeah. I mean, with my own family, I don't mind it too much because I know that, I mean, you guys don't really think of us as a, I mean, we are a unit, but, you know, we're two different people. But yeah, when people I don't really know lump us together, I'm like, nah, no.
That's not the way.
Yeah, so I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why we dress so differently and we act so differently. Just kind of subconsciously, she dresses more dark and she's very moody and introverted just to provide a contrast. Like people notice when we switch clothes. So I think that
I love how you phrase that. It's like she's providing a contrast to you.
or maybe I'm just like sprightly compared to her. I don't know.
Am I a good sister to you?
No, I'm just kidding.
My love language is words of affirmation.
Right. Yes.
That's what I need right now.
Well, I think you're pretty interesting because we're so far apart in age. You're like, oh, why can't I remember this? It's 9 years, right?
Starting off well for you.
really interesting because you're really old.
Yeah, you're like an old lady. You're practically my mother. You're so old.
Okay, whoa.
No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. You're like 9 years older than us. I'm the ultimate baby of the family. But
You're 2 minutes younger than Lucia, so.
yeah, I lost by 2 minutes. But no, you were always like very interested in hanging out with us and like interested in I don't know how to phrase this.
All I'm hearing is like, yeah, you're really old, but for some reason you like wanted to hang out with like
Well, it's just because most of the people I know, their brother or sister who's older is just like, ugh, I don't want to deal with that bratty younger sibling. But I feel like you were never that way. Like, I don't think we ever fought. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but I feel like that's unusual that siblings all just kind of get along.
Mm-hmm.
So.
All right. Well, where can people find you and your work if they want to book you or send you questions or follow up?
Yeah, feel free to reach out to me anytime. My DMs are always open. For my film stuff, you can go to Kings in the Back Row Productions on Instagram. And you can also go to my YouTube channel, which is just my name, Poppi Fella Pellegrino, and there's a space between Fella and Pellegrino. And for the podcast, you can check it out on Spotify. It's on YouTube. It's also on Anchor, which links to a bunch of different websites and just podcast apps if you have one of those. So the Instagram for that is at Queerator_podcast. And again, feel free to DM me. And if you're a queer artist listening, you can also DM and we can talk about something on the show.
Sounds good. Okay. Mm-hmm. Thank you.
Thanks so much for having me.
All right. I love you.
Love you too.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for everything.
Yeah, this was so much fun.
Yeah, it was fun. Okay, bye.
Bye.